And then summer ended with feet.
And then summer ended feet. Are you sure? Yes, we're sure.
There was no denying it. Today was the very last day of summer. Tomorrow you were headed to class.
That's stinky. It was kind of. I feel like it's
Yeah.
kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Summer had been so much fun. When you thought about going back to school, it was with a sense of loss. Soon you wouldn't be able to choose how your days were spent without the school bell telling you where you had to be and when. It was with a heavy heart that you chose your outfit for the final day of freedom. Life was going to be different. You had come to think of the summer vacation as the norm, but school sucked up the majority of the year, whereas summer vacation was just a respite in the middle. So, rather than it being different, it was kind of a return to normal? What did your normal life really mean? You considered how fondly your moms talked about their summer vacations as kids. You dimly recognized that 1 year of the pattern of school and summer itself would be over for good, and it was hard to imagine. You'd gotten distracted, one arm still out of his sleeve. You pulled it through and you put your mind back to the present. The season had brought about plenty of changes of its own, like Kyra's visit, though that too was coming to an end today.
You were happy you'd finally gotten the chance to know her, become extremely fond. Didn't really like her, didn't know how to feel about her. I think like we are like fond of her, or like we were happy we got to know her.
Yeah,
I kind of like the top one more.
me too.
Just the only reason I don't like, I like the second one, but the only reason I don't is because in previous episodes there were weird responses that were like, I think your mom's hot, or you're like, your dad's hot.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if that's what number 2 means, so I kind of want to go with number 1.
Yeah. She was interesting to be around. You liked how easy it was to talk to her. You also liked that she bought you everything on the menu at fast food places. He finished dressing, which was good. Cove would be there any moment. You'd agreed to see his mom off together. Officially, the plan was that he would come over to bring you round to his house when she was ready to set off, but you both knew that you'd be hanging out for at least a little while beforehand. Kyra's visit had troubled Cove when it first happened. It had been a sudden change, thanks to Mr. Holden's infamous tendency to surprise people, but once he was able to adjust, he'd been in pretty good spirits with her around. It was a relief for everyone. The next thought that crossed your mind was,
It would only be polite to get the door for Cove. You went downstairs to wait. Couldn't wait to see Cove, so you went downstairs to meet him when he arrived. Knew your house well enough you could lounge in your room to wait for him. I think I
like the
like
middle one.
Yeah, I was gonna say the middle one too.
You bounded down the stairs, your hand gliding over the rail. You wanted to make sure you got there first. If you didn't hurry, your moms might answer it. That would be no good. It was only a few minutes later when the doorbell rang. As you'd chosen to stand beside it to wait for Cove, there was no delay in pulling it open. Cove was there just as you'd expected. Seeing you, he smiled quietly.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi, Cove. Come on in.
Once he'd stepped inside, you beckoned for him to follow you upstairs. Back up in your room, you sat down on your bed and waited for Cove to settle in as you knew he would. With other guests, you might have offered them a seat, but you and Cove were long past those tentative stages of friendship. Your room was as familiar to him as his own. You watched as Cove sat down in your desk chair, his preferred spot. He rolled it closer to the bed to make it easier to chat, tweaking the angle so that he was facing you fully. Once happy with the position, he leaned in towards you, hands held in his lap. His actions weren't the ones of someone who planned on moving from the spot anytime soon, even though you'd had an appointment to keep together that day.
When is your mom
Don't
leaving?
worry about it.
We've got some time. She's still got a shower and stuff before she goes. She didn't want me to just keep hanging around while she was doing that. He lifted his head, his gaze drifting out through the window, and chuckled. I can't believe she's already leaving. Just when I'm getting used to her being there every day. He leaned back in the chair, a wry smile tickling his cheeks.
Time's going by so fast. She'll be back. Nodded her. Yeah. I kind of like the bottom one.
Yeah. He cocked his head thoughtfully before shrugging. He ran a hand through his hair before shaking his head, as if shaking off the topic like a dog whipping off water following a dip in the sea. Cove perched an elbow on the chair's arm and propped his jaw against his curled hand. There was a natural ease to his movements, a familiarity from the echoes to all the times before where he'd sat in that same position. This was a really nice summer.
Totally. It was alright. I'm glad we got to spend so much time together. I've had better. Looking forward to the next. Or you know, I've had better. I kind of like the green one.
Yeah. Cove, still nestled cozily in your chair, smiled at your response.
How are your fish doing?
Really good. Things in the tank are stable and everybody looks healthy. That was nice to hear. You'd learned from Cove how hard it was to maintain an aquarium. Schlorpstein had been busy. Keeps starting between the plants and out again when I walk by like a game of peekaboo.
Or hide and seek.
Yeah. Cove idly glanced out the window. He gave a resigned sigh. It's gonna be harder to surf, with school getting colder out. I might stow my board away.
I don't know how I'm gonna go on without surfing. I like surfing, but I wish it liked me. I'm over surfing now. Surfing's cool when we can, or sorry, Cove. I kind of like the second one. I like surfing, but I wish it liked me. I can't stick to the board.
He gave a light smile, coupled with a shrug as a response.
Won't be long until we get our grades for that summer work we did.
Oh, yeah. I think mine's gonna go well.
We'll just have to see what mine are like.
Cove looked at you, eyes bright. Things will work out. I know it. Do you think we'll see Miranda around this school year?
Probably. She could be in one of our classes again. You hope you'd see her often. It'd be nice to see her again. Interested in seeing her. Really didn't matter. I kind of like the second one. It would be nice to see her again.
Nice.
Ollie, Cove.
The sudden call from downstairs caught you both unaware. You'd nearly forgotten the world outside your room. From the guilty look on his face, Cove had done the same.
Just had a call. Cove's mom is ready to go. If you're quick, she might keep the mandated motherly smothering to a minimum.
You doubted that, but it was nice that Mom and Ms. Reese had their strange sense of humor in common. Your eyes met Cove's. Wordlessly, you headed downstairs together. Each step on the way there was painfully slow, like he was trying to delay the inevitable. His whole body tensed leaving the house, and Cove froze all together before you could go across the street.
Oh.
Doors open. Dad must be taking her stuff out. He swallowed hard. She's really gonna leave.
Smiled at him reassuringly, gave his back a pat, rested your hand on his arm. This isn't the last time you'll ever see her. Yeah, I like that answer.
Yeah. I know. But I got used to having her here.
Yeah.
It was hard to think of a world where you didn't have both of your moms living at home with you, so you couldn't imagine how hurt Cove must have felt knowing his mom was leaving. You thought you saw his bottom lip quiver just before he turned his head away from you.
You don't have to head over if you don't want to.
No, it'll be worse if I miss her leaving.
Okay.
At that, some of the conflict warring on his face eased a bit. Together, you went across the street and inside his house, finding his parents in the living room surrounded by his mom's packed things. Hey, kids.
Good timing. I just called the taxi.
Hi.
I guess that's why I never... Did she always, have this, wrap over her? Because it hides her hair.
Yeah. I think she mostly did, yeah.
Huh. And hi, Ollie. So glad I get to see you today. It was fabulous getting to know you this summer. I finally got to put a face to the name I've heard so many times.
She winked, and Cove pouted on cue over her teasing.
I'm really happy I got to meet you, too. Hope you had a good time visiting. Bye.
Bye.
Hopefully it won't be too long before we see each other again.
Nodding, Kyra turned her attention back to her boys. She patted Cliff on the arm with a warm smile, and then she enveloped Cove in a crushing hug. Initially, Cove squirmed to break free from her grip, but his mom was unfazed and kept him locked in place. Heartbeats later, he gave in and hugged her back tightly.
I'm so glad.
And I'm so happy this trip was a success.
I still don't understand if they get along this well enough to live together for an entire month. Why are you divorced?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't really get it.
Cliff looked like he was bursting with pride. And then Cove stiffened. Kyra loosened her hold on him enough to study his face, concerned. She spoke her next words in a whisper that had been meant just for her son.
What do you think?
You want to unshelve it?
Raising an eyebrow, Cliff watched them carefully. His smile began to falter.
What's wrong?
Cove sighed and his gaze flickered over to you for a moment. And just as quick, it was back on his
It's
parents.
okay.
It's alright.
Really?
Are you sure?
I don't want to do it now. I can tell Dad later.
Oh?
Nervously, you watched the exchange with the growing suspicion that Cove didn't want to have that conversation while you were there. You wondered if you should offer to leave when Kyra gave Cove a pat on the head.
All right.
You can always call me if you want me to be a part of the conversation, okay?
I'll call. Thanks, Mom. Cliff still looked baffled about what Kyra and Cove had been referring to, but you watched as his shoulders slowly relaxed. You figured that he decided to wait for Cove to be ready to talk to him. And with Cliff's silence, things seemed to be settled for now. After that, it wasn't long before the taxi arrived, rolling up front of the house and in clear view of the open door. Kyra stood up, smiling sadly.
Well, that's my ride.
Yeah. The matching reply got a chuckle out of Kyra as you all filed out of the house. Father and son went with Kyra's bags in hand. Once outside, you spotted your family waiting by the street, and to your surprise, Derek was also with them for some reason. He stood uncomfortably, and he waved as soon as you noticed him.
What's up?
Hey, Ollie. Hi, Cove.
When did you get here?
My dad dropped me off just a little bit ago. I thought I could visit one more time before school started.
Sorry.
You picked a busy time. Sorry. Derek couldn't even look at Cove. He nervously kept rolling a pebble with the bottom of his shoe.
Sorry.
I wasn't even thinking that your mom would be leaving today. I'm sorry, dude. What? You're not interrupting anything. You're always welcome here.
It would have been sad if I didn't get to say goodbye before leaving.
I think so, too. It was apparent Derek would have preferred to have gotten there at a more opportune moment. He never liked seeming impolite, but their reassuring words soothed his worries. The tension he was holding in his body lessened, and he looked like he was feeling much more like himself.
Hi, Derek. It was fun getting to know you.
Bye, man. Is there anything I can do to help?
Nah.
Nah, don't worry yourself over that. We're just about set. In that short amount of time, Cliff had gathered and packed his bags into the trunk. Kyra took one last look at everyone inside.
All right, I don't want to keep the driver waiting. It's time to head out.
The little crowd that had formed around started their course of farewells and well wishes traveling, but Kyra still made no move to get to the taxi. She placed her attention on Cove.
I'll call when I get to the airport and when I make it to Nevada.
Also, you better call the moment you walk in the door at home. Otherwise, we'll be wondering all night if you got into trouble on the way here.
I can do that.
And could you call tomorrow too, so I can tell you how school went?
Of course, I want to hear all about it.
Kyra put a hand on Cove's head and affectionately ruffled his hair one last time. She then let go, only to move into squeezing his cheeks in her hands instead. But, Mom...
I love you so much.
She was chuckling by the time she freed him, rounded things off with a small tap on the tip of his nose. Cove rubbed his face with a grin. Finally, she walked to the car while waving, and took her seat in the taxi. Cliff hooked an arm around Cove's shoulder and kept him close as it began to pull away. For a moment, Cove looked up at his dad and then wrapped an arm across his
Bye.
back. Bye, Mom. Bye. Travel safe. Kyra rolled down the window and stuck her head out of it. She waved again while blowing kisses at Cove and Cliff.
See you again.
Before she was out of sight, you decided to...
Blow kisses back. I think just wave goodbye, probably.
Yeah. As the taxi headed down the road, you stuck your hand in the air to send her off. The cab turned down the other road and completely disappeared from view. Cove let go of his dad and took a few steps out into the empty street, still looking in the direction his mom went. He smiled quietly, deep in thought. You got the impression Cove was feeling better than he was earlier. He was finally content with the way things were. The summer breeze had brought a sweet-sounding jingle across the way. It was the wind chime you had given Cove. He had it hung in the front of his house, and it had become a very familiar sound in the neighborhood. You jumped a bit when your mom put a hand on your shoulder, pulling you away from your thoughts. She smiled when you looked at her.
This was great at a vacation, huh? Nodded in agreement. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Cove walked back over to the group, still genuinely happy. Derek grinned at him welcomingly, and everyone else there smiled at him, even Elizabeth.
Well?
Ma clapped her hands together, bringing everyone's attention back to the present.
It's almost lunchtime. I think I'll put something special together.
Her eyes sparkled with a plan, and Mom smiled.
I bet you could use some help with that. That'd be absolutely wonderful.
Derek glanced between the two, his eyebrows furrowed. Is there something I could do? Your moms exchanged a fond expression. Ma shook her head.
Sweet.
That's very sweet, Derek, but it's all right. Not your job. Technically, your dad left you under Cliff's watch. You're meant to be taken care of by him, not doing chores for the neighbors.
Mom laughed a little over her own joke. You watched Derek look away, discouraged. It's okay. I don't mind. He was a little bashful about it. You wonder if Mom's joke had just reminded him that he wasn't initially meant to be invited for lunch. It was getting a little awkward. Mom grinned sympathetically. Her comment was meant to lighten the mood, not bring it back down. Ma tried again to get things moving forward.
Why don't you kids go have fun? You can all come back in about an hour. We'll make enough for everyone.
Mom nodded in
Sounds
agreement.
good.
Another stunning idea, Lonnie.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds like a plan then. I don't want to cramp your style. I've got some stuff to work on, so I can be out of your hair this afternoon.
You should come by later too. No reason you should be the odd man out.
Mom seemed amused as Cliff rubbed his neck nervously. He grinned a wavering but pleased smile.
Thanks very much.
I appreciate the invite. He looked over to the assembled crowd with knowing glances. I could help too. With as many people as you're feeding, that's going to be a lot of food.
Didn't you hear what we told Derek? It wouldn't be fair to make you cook when we're the ones who are inviting you in.
Ma raised an eyebrow when Cliff waved it
Come on.
off. I insist. Derek would be missing time with his pals. This would be a break for me. I'm quite the chef. Ma and Mom exchanged further glances before Mom shrugged.
True.
An airtight argument. If you're sure, we'll be happy to have you, Chef Cliff.
Cliff's grin widened and seemed more hyped than you'd expect him to be about helping with lunch. Cove shook his head, a fond smile on his face.
And all us grown-up people will be heading inside. I assume the rest of you kiddos are staying out. Maybe not all of them.
Ma tilted her head, a silent question for Elizabeth. Your sister thought for a
All
moment.
right.
I'll stay with the kids.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
Both your moms smiled at her, while Derek and Cove didn't seem to appreciate her phrasing. But with the plan decided, all three parents waved and headed for your house. It was just you teenagers now. Elizabeth looked at you and the others, a curious expression on her face.
So, what now?
You silently wondered if Elizabeth only stayed out with you to avoid getting roped into work. Then again, she could just genuinely want to hang out. You couldn't tell with your sister. Cove spoke up after no one else did to answer Elizabeth's question. Want to go down to the shopping street? It's been a while, and I don't think there's a lot of other things we could agree on.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Sounds awesome to me. Unlike you guys, I haven't been there 1,001 times. It's new to me.
Let's do it?
Yeah, let's do it. You stroll across the road as a group, down to the beach and then to the left. It took less than 15 minutes to arrive, one of the conveniences of Sunset Bird. The four of you looked around at familiar shops, trying to see if anything caught your attention this time. Derek was the most enthusiastic. He checked out every small stall with his eyes wide with wonder. Elizabeth and Cove were in good spirits as well. That's so cool! He ran over to a street magician who was currently doing a card trick for a group of enchanted tourists. Derek clapped when the magician showed a middle-aged man his card. Derek turned back to the group with a curious gleam on his face. What does it take to perform here anyway? Do you have to ask somebody or do you just show up and start doing stuff?
Who would you even ask? It's a public street. Hey, Miss Mayor, can I pull a rabbit out of my hat? Please, Flopsy is well behaved, I promise.
Derek chuckled, his eyes searching up and down the scene.
Maybe?
Maybe there's a boss of the shopping street. No one does any of this around my neighborhood. It's just regular stores behind walls.
It's different if someone wants a real store, but here I'm pretty sure people are just putting on their little shows whenever they want and do whatever.
That's so neat. Would we be allowed to do something too? Cove laughed and Derek almost began vibrating with excitement. Elizabeth rolled her eyes. What would we do? Well, I don't know what. Not yet. I mean, I just found out it's a possibility, you know. But there's gotta be something. We know cool stuff. I'm sure if we think about it, we could plan a show that'd really get a crowd pumped.
Thought this was a great idea and wanted to be a part of it. Felt he could do this idea on his own. Thought Derek needed to abandon the idea. Probably give a look to the other two.
Yeah. Derek continued to brainstorm out loud about different potential performances while you glanced over at Cove and Elizabeth. I mean, I could bounce a soccer ball in my head. Last time I tried, I got 8 bounces before it fell. I wouldn't bring a ball here. Why not? Cove gestured to everything around. The stalls, the people, all the colorful chaos that made up the shopping street. Would you want to chase a lost ball here? And what if it hits somebody? Even if you're good, someone else could bump into you. That's true. Derek thought about it some more, and he watched another performer, a woman doing tricks with 2 small dogs. One was fluffy and cream-colored, while the other was a cool gray. The woman held up rings. Both animals jumped through the openings, happy to receive a treat at the end. Derek brightened. Maybe I'll teach crabs how to race.
Crabs?
It could work. With some amusement, the gang continued to peruse the stalls. Elizabeth found some earrings with a dangling, badly misprinted globe that everyone laughed at. Cole picked out a blob as Iceland, but Derek thought it had to be Greenland.
You know, this is a world with what looks like 9 continents. I think you're both wrong. No, it's Australia.
The other 2 giggled at your interjection. Suddenly, Cove froze. You stared at him and then tried to see what caught his attention. When he saw a familiar face down the way, it all made sense. Here he is. Between the crowds, his bright hair stood out like a neon green bowl in a kitchen sink. It was Jeremy.
Oh, God.
Jeremy slowly drifted his eyes down the street, and his eyes widened in mutual recognition. He definitely noticed you. Derek frowned, and Cove tensed up. Couldn't help but remember the last time he'd seen Jeremy at Miranda's birthday party. No wonder Cove was already defensive.
We're shocked, glared, waved, smile, or look away. I would probably look away.
Just, like, go somewhere else or look away, yeah.
Can we? I don't think there's an answer to go somewhere else.
No.
So just look away.
Yeah. You didn't want to even start with Jeremy's shenanigans today. Elizabeth raised an eyebrow. Her gaze swept over Jeremy without a hint of a clue.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth probably doesn't know.
Yeah. Jeremy simply scoffed to himself and waded deeper into the crowd of people. Derek relaxed and exhaled loudly.
Oh, nice.
I'm glad he's not going to start anything. He peeked over at Elizabeth with a tiny smirk. See? That was the mean kid.
Huh?
She still didn't get it. That first summer day hadn't made nearly as much of an impression on her as it did for Derek, but he smiled and waved it off. Just forget about him.
I already have.
He laughed, and Cove smiled lightly. He seemed in a much better mood now that Jeremy was gone. Your eyes wandered over to where Jeremy disappeared. You hadn't forgotten the day you met him either. He was only going to be in town for a vacation with his parents he hated. That glimpse was probably the last you would ever see of him.
Thank goodness. Why we broke from the group and went after Jeremy.
Jeremy, I have to say goodbye.
No. Jeremy's probably gone for good now. It's time for him to go back to wherever he's from.
Yeah, guess we won't have to worry about that guy anymore. Derek kicked the little rock in the road. It clattered forward, then rolled under a stall. But I still think it's kind of sad Jeremy turned out to be, well, yeah, like he is. It would have been nice to make another friend. Cove shook his head. It was clearly not broken up over what might have been.
I think I might want to see him again sometime. Heck no. Maybe he'll become nicer in the future. I think that's probably a okay answer based off of what we got here.
Yeah, I mean, it's optimistic. Optimistic is good.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth rolled her eyes at the strange farewell to the odd boy, not interested in the slightest. She clearly didn't understand his impact, and at this point, she didn't want to understand. Jeremy was unlike anyone you had ever met before.
Thought he was stupid.
Yeah, stinky Jeremy.
Thought he was kind of pitiful.
Yeah,
I think that's better
kinda.
than saying weird, stupid, or horrible.
Yeah. You and the group moved on from the stall and from Jeremy. It didn't take long for everyone to return to the joking. You all enjoyed what little time you had left as Elizabeth mentioned the hour was almost up. The little trip had flown by, and lunch must have been waiting for you by now. Derek bounced off the balls of his feet. Come on, guys, let's go so we can eat. I'm starving.
Homebound, here we go.
Cove stretched one of his arms lazily. Let's go, then. He looked at him appraisingly.
Ask Cove to carry you back to the house. No. What? That's weird.
Then you followed
Carry
Elizabeth as
me.
she took it upon herself to carry Cove back to the house. She walked fast, much faster than Derek preferred. She kept gaining a lead, and then Derek would jog back up to the group. With Cove's long legs, he had no trouble keeping up.
Derek's short.
Yep,
We walk with Cove.
yeah. You kept close to your neighbor. You both chatted about the things you'd seen at the shopping street, with Derek chiming in every so often. You caught Cove smiling at you a couple times. He was happy you were spending time with him. It was a pleasant walk home, and in no time you had made it back. Derek got to the door and held it open for everyone as you each moseyed inside. The three parents were still in the kitchen.
Mosey.
They looked up and waved.
I only want this lunch if they're making monster sandwiches.
Yes.
Or got everything off of the fast food menu. Welcome back, everyone.
You made it just in time.
I hope you're hungry. So did everyone have a nice time out?
She gestured for people to take a seat at the table. Plates and silverware had already been placed out. You took your normal seat. Elizabeth sat across from you, and Derek took the seat to your left. Cove sat on your
Yeah.
right. Oh yeah, we had a great time.
It was fine.
Cove shrugged, not willing to say more than that.
It was okay, I guess. The bank heist went off without a hitch. We're saying that.
Your joke got some chuckles going around the table. That's good in my book. Casually, Mr. Holden sat in the empty seat across from Cove. He smiled at you and all the other kids. Mom sat down on a platter full of water glasses on the table. She looked down at the gathering.
It was a good thing we have 8 chairs. I can't remember the last time we've had a group this big over for a meal. When you pass the drinks down to the other side, make sure you all get one.
Sure. Those close to the cups obliged and started offering waters around. As everything got set up, Ma chided Elizabeth to take her elbows off the table.
No.
And you shouldn't slouch.
She pointed to Mr. Holden, who was leaning forward with both arms on the table. Oops. Mr. Holden seemed unsure about the sudden attention and carefully rearranged his posture to something suitable for a fancy dinner. He smiled sheepishly at Ma. Elizabeth rolled her eyes, and Ma gave a level look at her.
You shouldn't be impolite to a guest in the house either.
Elizabeth groaned, long and long-suffering. Ma giggled and Mr. Holden chuckled.
Not bad.
A lot of you could learn a thing or two from Derek. He has the best manners here.
Derek blushed, but it was true. His posture was upright and formal. He even held his fork gracefully. His table manners, on top of all of his attempts to aid your parents, made him the model of meal attendee behavior.
I think we were all wrong about Derek at the beginning
Aw.
of the summer.
Yeah,
I mean, he
it's
like
nothing.
he looks like a little fuckboy, but like I think he he means well.
Yeah, you know,
It's true though. You've been a lovely guest.
I've noticed that too. It's always nice when you stay over, Derek. Derek smiled and sat a little taller in his chair.
And do you have anything good to say about our other guest?
She looked deliberately at Cove with a teasing smirk.
Or is there just nothing to say?
Well, Cove was my number one, but he still does clean his hands by wiping them on his pants.
Embarrassing.
Cove frowned at that and absentmindedly brushed his hand on his pant legs. Mom's laughed lightly.
There.
Elizabeth, you should know after all these years, Cove is hardly a guest anymore.
Cove smiled awkwardly. Thanks.
Manners to manners. Who cares? I don't think it's that big of a deal. Tease Cove for his bad habit. Complimented Derek on this politeness, joked that Derek was basically an adult, kept quiet and took a bite of food. I don't really know what's the... Like, they're not bad answers necessarily. Well, teasing Cove maybe is a bad answer.
Yeah.
I think we could joke that Derek is an adult or compliment Derek on his politeness? Or just eat our food?
Maybe.
Which one?
I kind of like eat your food or like it
Just-
doesn't matter, but
just
like
eat.
I don't know if that doesn't matter would be a good one.
I think we're just gonna eat our food.
The parents had made such an excellent lunch. You took another bite and minded your business. Everyone ate their meal together and continued to hang out for the afternoon. After the food, you and the others played a couple games and talked about plans for the upcoming year. The time passed by quickly, and soon it was time to part ways. Mr. Holden talked to your moms, and Cove drifted over to you, knowing that as soon as his dad finished up, he would be leaving. It'd be cool to stay, but we have some stuff to do before everything closes
Okay.
today.
Yeah, bye. Could you move? I need the phone.
Cove raised an eyebrow, and Elizabeth impatiently gestured behind him. Cove realized he was standing right in front of where the receiver was placed. He sidestepped out of the way and shook his head, clearly thinking Elizabeth was rushing too much. Your sister made a beeline for the phone and started dialing the number of what you figured to be one of her friends. Knowing Elizabeth, she was going to be on there for a while. You, Cove, and Derek shuffled closer to the door. It seemed like Mr. Holden was wrapping up his conversation, so everyone started saying their various farewells.
Talk to you later.
See you later, Cove. We gotta do this again sometime. Yeah, see you. Cove turned to you and smiled slightly. Bye, Ollie.
We hug?
Yeah. You stepped forward and spread your arms wide. Cove only had a moment to react before you encircled him in his arms. Cove took a second to return the hug, surprised. He leaned into you and held on. Then he hovered nearby with a small smile on his face when it had ended. Seriously, dude, we'll have to hang out later. I'm gonna miss you during school. He punched Cove's arm softly. Cove still rubbed the spot afterwards. Cove and his dad left soon after that. Your parents started cleaning up the house, and Elizabeth was still chatting to her friends on the phone. It was just you and Derek left. He elected to stay outside in front of the house to wait for his dad to pick him up. He decided to keep your guest company, although he was originally Cove's visitor. A light summer breeze blew through your hair, and Derek shifted his weight from foot to foot. Thanks for waiting with me. He kicked at the ground distractedly.
Well,
Dad's still gonna be a while, so you want to go for a walk?
Sure, I don't mind.
Two of you walked down the street again, just wandering without a destination planned. It was a quiet stroll, too quiet for Derek being the company. You turned to him when you'd noticed that he wasn't saying a word. That was unusual. Derek always had something to chat about. You weren't sure if you should ask about it. Somehow you ended up at the old park near the beach. You glanced over to Derek once more, still expecting him to say something any second now. However, nothing came from him. In fact, now you noticed a frown creeping on his face. Derek smiled when he realized you were watching. At least his mouth was turned up. There wasn't anything that really felt happy in the expression. He turned away and the smile fell off his face. His eyes stared intently at the ground and he raised an eyebrow.
Is everything okay? I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I'm a little sad. It's just, with school starting back up again, it's gonna be harder to visit. I'm gonna have homework and clubs and practice and everything else. It really sucks we go to different schools.
Mm.
His face screwed up and his fists were closed tightly together. This was really concerning him. What if we don't have time?
Shared those worries or channel some optimism?
Let's do the optimism.
We'll make time. We can talk over the phone and have plans for weekends. It'll be okay.
Eric looked up at the sky. It was orange and purple with little wisps of clouds scattered around. A plane flew high with the jet stream trailing behind it. Then he turned to the ground again. Derek's face was tilted far enough down that it was harder to read his expression. Hey, Ollie, I actually wanted to talk to you about something, if you don't mind. There was a pause, and you waited for him to finish his thought.
Sorry.
I was just kind of wondering, do you like guys at all? Like, would you ever want to be with someone who was a boy? Sorry if that's weird to ask.
Oh, well? I guess we could just answer it.
Sure, yeah. Okay, then he hesitated before finishing his question.
God.
So, what I mean is, is there any guy you think is kind of cool that you like around here? Not at school or anything like that. He ducked his head further. You thought about it.
Mr. Holden. Do we just say it? Cause like that's what we're going.
Probably. I mean, I feel like it's
for.
like not that hard to tell anyway.
It's true.
Like for people on the outside.
Maybe
Derek
yeah.
raised an eyebrow. He didn't look at all convinced. I can't tell whether you're kidding around or being serious. I really didn't think you with Cove? Derek started to mumble to himself, sounding very confused. Maybe they didn't really get my question. So. Derek pulled himself together, somewhat meekly. He looked at you while he tried to project confidence. His posture was too tight for you to believe it was his.
All
He was
right.
nervous. Thinking ahead and everything is important. You've got to get yourself a game plan and all that. It's good to make plans, especially backup plans. He babbled, all full of energy and forced gusto. Well, anyway, I heard about this thing where people make pacts with their good friends that
Oh.
if they don't find anyone else, then they get together.
Oh.
together, like they get married and stuff.
Oh.
So I was thinking, since it's good to have plans, it
Oh.
might be cool if we did something like that.
Derek.
His eyes widened, then he started to make frantic hand gestures. Just, then we never have to worry about the future or finding someone. We can set it like a whole decade in the future, forever from now. We'd have graduated high school and probably college too. We'd have jobs and be really grown up. I mean, we'd probably have our own places and maybe our own pets and student loans and
glad he
cars.
brought
How
up-
do you know about this shit?
I was like, bringing up student loans.
Derek babbled on for a while more. It was as if all the words he held in during silence in your walk had just burst out now, all at once. So, yeah, what do you think?
I don't want to agree to this. Just because I feel like
and-
that's like gonna make things really weird and it's gonna mess up the future.
Yeah.
I kind of want to just go with the bottom one and just like ask, do you like me? Or say, I'll think about it.
I kind of more leaning towards the fourth one, to be honest with you. Maybe that's too blunt, though.
Yeah, I don't want to like hurt his feelings. Because you can always say like, I'll think about it. And that's kind of like you're almost saying no, but you're kind of just prolonging it in case they bring it up again. But
Yeah.
maybe he's just being
a
impulsive
little-
right now, and then he'll grow up and know that he doesn't need a backup plan.
Yeah, maybe.
What do you want to do? But I don't know. The other thing too is saying I'll think about it. It just worries me that it's gonna get back to Cove.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of want to just like ask him.
Yeah, maybe we just ask. Because I don't think that really... Oh, shit. Of course I like you, but it's not... He had to pause, desperate to find a way to explain himself. Well, you don't have to think about that kind of thing right now. It's better to worry about that all later when we're grown up. That's why it's a good idea to have a plan, And, well, honestly, I think you and me would work out the best for that. So...
Ah.
Oh, so we're basically just back to where we are.
Heck. I don't like the top two. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm as much as I don't want to just like break him.
Maybe he'd
also-
appreciate the honesty.
I also just don't want to say I'll think about it because then what if that gets back to Cove somehow?
Yeah, and it's also a little insincere.
Also, yeah, and also, why are we even having this conversation? I thought he was just like
I have
our
no
friend.
idea.
We've
thought so,
done
too.
we've done nothing to like instigate this.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. That's okay. It was just an idea. Thanks for
Aw.
hearing me out and answering my questions and stuff. He felt a little worried that Derek wasn't happy. When he saw your face, he smiled,
It's okay.
smiled encouragingly. I promise I'm not mad. I was just wondering. I'm sure things will be okay in the future no matter what. He just nodded. You didn't spend much longer at the park after that. Derek didn't want to miss his dad, so you both made your way back to your street. After Derek went back home, you decided to settle in for the night. Stretching your arms over your head, you noticed that the living room and the phone were free.
I guess we can call Lee.
Yeah, why not? Kind of wrap everything up. You picked up the receiver and quickly punched in the familiar number while going to take a seat on the couch. Soon enough, after explaining the situation to the housekeeper, Lee answered.
Hey!
Housekeeper?
Hi, Lee. Can you talk? Definitely. We practically have to. My gosh, can you believe it's almost time for school to start? What happened to our summer? School starts first thing tomorrow for me. Ew, and I thought I had starting next week was bad enough. Enjoy your last week. Oh, I will. I hope you'll survive your first day. Me too. I need a good year. Ditto. And at least summer was nice while it lasted, right? We were busy. Yeah.
Fondly, you thought about all the best memories you made this summer. Lee was there for some, but there were still many you hadn't filled her in on yet.
Reminisced about a moment of your summer?
Yeah, you began to speak about...
Oh, God.
Oh boy.
I think when Cove's mom took us for a wild ride, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, one time Cove's mom had me and Cove go with her on this ride all over town. Why'd she do that? Just 'cause? Sort of. We got caught in a sun shower and she wanted to help us air dry and it kept going on from there. She bought me everything I wanted at the burger place. Everything? Everything. Wow. We could talk about the soiree?
Yeah.
I went to a soiree at my mom's country club. There were a lot of food and dancing and people dressed up formally. Oh, I've been to one of those. They're cool, but how did it go for you? Cove came too?
Yeah. Because, like,
Had to
she
take a
kinda
guess?
knows.
That must have been nice. It was. I'm happy he was there. Alright, we'll pick one more. Because I don't want to go through all of these, but... What
Let's see.
about...
Maybe the road trip?
Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. I went on a vacation. Cove's parents ended up inviting my whole family on an RV road trip. Whoa, that's awesome! It was a 3-day trip, and we visited the Redwood National Forest. Lucky. It was fun hanging out with everyone all together. Ooh, we could tell her juicy details.
True.
Cove did what? Wait! Start at the beginning.
It took a while until you stopped laughing from Lee's reaction long enough to tell her every detail of the story. She excitedly squealed more than once.
I can't believe you've been holding out on me with such a juicy story. Nothing really happened. Keep telling yourself that. You have to keep me updated on what happens next.
It was hard to focus on what she was saying. Your face was probably red right now just thinking about what happened.
Alright, we talk about her. What was your big highlight of the summer, Lee? Talking to you is always the best part of my summer.
Even though it was a phone call, you knew that Lee was winking at you.
Come on, tell me. What, you don't believe me? Lee. Alright, okay. So a high point for me was when I took that trip with my parents to Europe. That was amazing.
You and Lee continued to go over your adventures until you were both yawning to each other over the phone. At that, you decided it was time to say goodbye for now. You did have school to wake up for in the morning.
Bye, Lee. Night, Ollie. Talk to you later.
You left the phone on the side table for now. Looking at the clock on the wall, you saw there was only about 10 minutes until your moms would be insisting you had to go to bed so you could be rested enough for school. You stretched your legs out on the couch and sighed in defeat, watching the minute hand change 1 minute closer to bedtime. You rearranged yourself, feeling restless, and looked out the window. Startled initially, you spotted a figure out in the hills. It was Cove. When the surprise faded, you realized it wasn't really that much of a shock at all. It was actually something Cove would do.
Ran off to see him. Went outside to meet up with him. Smacked the window. I think one of the top two is probably.
Yeah, let's go outside. Strolling casually, you went over to the front door. When you arrived, you noticed how many fireflies were out that night. They drifted along lazily, barely minding your presence as you waded through to go reach the top of the hill. Cove turned towards you as you approached, and you noticed right away that Cove looked happy to see you. Hey. You had a bounce in your step. You weren't sure how long you'd get before your moms had roped you back inside for bed.
Hey, what are you doing out here?
Nothing, not really. He shrugged, seeming unhappy with his own answer. You stared at him, waiting for him to continue. Well, I guess I was feeling kind of weird about stuff, so I'm getting some fresh air before bed.
I know how you feel.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best one there.
Hard to say still. Tomorrow's going to be the start of a new year.
At the mention of school, a small noise escaped him.
He farted.
Cove farted. Cove let himself fall back onto his butt and then all the way down so he was laying on his back. He looked up at the sky.
I sat on his... I'm sorry, what?
You farted on his chest.
I took a poop on his chest. Why would we sit on him? Lay down, you moron.
Don't know. You lowered yourself to lay back on the hill. He had been lost in thought, or was possibly waiting for you to situate yourself, but he started speaking unprompted
I'm
again.
sorry.
I'm sorry for being kind of awkward when my mom was leaving. Surprised, you stared at him for a moment. You weren't expecting that. I just wanted you to know that I talked to my dad about how I felt and things. It's okay now. You were genuinely glad to hear that, and it brought a small smile to your face, but your thoughts quickly wandered back to the day you first met Mr. Holden. Did his dad confess about that? From the way Cove talked, you guess he hadn't. So, there was more Cove and his dad should talk about, but it was a relief to know they made a start. Now is not a good time to bring up what you were thinking, though. You could wait longer to say it. It was almost unbelievable how much of an impact he made on your life just by moving in next door. You couldn't even imagine what your days might have looked like in a world where you hadn't met him. Cove glanced back at you, waiting for a response, and you had no idea what to say. Then, still without a word from you, Cove shook his head strongly.
What?
It's you.
Huh?
He snickered before answering. He looked thoroughly amused with your reaction. That's what you do all the time, so I'm being you.
What? You were stunned he noticed enough to take note of it?
I don't understand what he's talking about.
Guess we could just be bashful. I think he was just like imitating us or something. I don't.
Yeah. Feeling self-conscious, you glanced at the ground and felt a blush burn across your face. When you dared look back, you saw Kova smiling apologetically. He wasn't trying to be mean with it. Honestly, there weren't many people you could think of who could tease you about something like that. Returning his smile, you realized there was no denying that you two have been around each other for a long time. Cove broke the quiet before it could fully
See you
settle.
tomorrow.
Hey, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you then.
With the final wave, Cove headed for home. But you stayed there a few minutes longer. Your mind kept going back to a simple statement. See you tomorrow. No matter how much was changing around you, there were some things in your life that would always seem to remain true. The hills felt warm to you that night. Before you knew it, you were getting comfortable under the covers in your room. Your mind couldn't help but still buzzing with thoughts about the future. You felt...
excited.
Yeah. There's a little doubt in your mind that things were moving forward, and you couldn't wait to find out what changes were waiting for you on the horizon. Slowly, your eyes grew heavy as you drifted off to sleep, your mind spinning with wishful thoughts. No matter what happened next, you could only hope that you would make the most of it. You were ensnared in a dream when a noise from the outside world jostled you.
Oh, what? Noises happened. You tried to forget it. I think our eyes would just open.
Yeah. The light clatter continued. Now that you were more alert, you could distinguish it was a tapping sound. Quiet, slow, but persistent. Each beat was like being poked. You couldn't ignore it. You lifted your head from the pillow and looked for the source. Not much work was needed to puzzle it out. It was from the window. But with that, you knew exactly what it was. From the color of the light filtering the room, it was too early for anyone to be awake, including the sun. It had barely hauled itself over the horizon, but that didn't stop some people, it seemed. You sat up in bed and opened the window wide. Cool air, not yet warmed by the day, tickled your face and pushed it into your room. And just as you'd expect, there was your neighbor crouching on your windowsill. He was fully dressed, though not for school. He was wearing a wetsuit and a fond
Ollie.
smile. Hi, Ollie. You stared back, blinking. So technically, we won't be back to school for a few more hours. His voice was delicate yet deliberate, each word a careful explanation. Classes haven't actually started yet, so do you want to hit the beach with me one more time this summer?
It's like 2 a.m. Oh, man. I think I like always.
Yeah, let's do it. His smile widened affectionately.
Bruh.
You
it's
rushed
2
down to
in
get
the
changed
morning.
into something suitable, while Cove climbed back down to ground level. Your limbs, still half asleep, struggled somewhat as you attempted to coordinate them into a swimsuit, but you got there in the end.
Isn't it incredibly dangerous to go into the ocean in the middle of the night?
Yeah, you shouldn't do that. Soon you were tiptoeing out your front door, clutching a towel. Cove was already there to greet you. Your eyes met. Cove's gaze darted to your destination and back to you. You checked the door was closed, gave him a thumbs up, and the two of you leapt into action. Wordlessly, you began to run down the familiar path ahead, Cove beside you. The thrill of your illicit outing made you want to laugh. Now that you dared, if anyone in your family out and saw you in your summer, then your summer would be back to being over. One glance at Cove told you that he was exactly the same, holding back Snickers for fear of being hurt and caught. The towel streamed out from under your arm like a cape. You were running so fast downhill that simply keeping your balance and not tumbling down was a real treat. It just wasn't enough of one to make you slow your pace. For every step you took, the beach was a little closer and the day a little brighter. What lay ahead for you would arrive, and you were happy to meet it. In between.
So I don't want to change appearances at all. I think that's all fine.
Uh-huh.
So I think we were fond before. I think definitely we need to do at least crush.
Yeah.
And then I think if I hit ready, it's probably going to go right into the next episode. So I'm going to hit save real quick first. But then I'm probably going to hit
That's a good idea.
ready well, I don't know. I guess if I hit save, it'll bring me back here. But this is right. Wait, we get to customize again. And I learned how to do this because so this actually means like we only want their appearance to change, we only want their personality changed, or we want to change both or neither.
Okay.
And sometimes like the game will do it automatically because I didn't do anything the last time, so that's just what the game did. But now we're like, I guess, older adults or something. Or not like adults, but older teenagers, I guess. Can't even see them. So I'll just do none.
Yeah.
Shirts. I like that one, I think.
Yeah.
Do you like the white pants or the jeans better?
I like the white pants because it looks like the darker color at the top is just fading into
It's
white.
all fading. Yeah. Alright. Change page. This is pajamas, I guess?
Yeah. Can't sleep with
There
your
are
glasses on.
not a lot of options here. One or two. One or two. I think I like that one because it complements the like hair better. Kind of like the blue one.
Yeah.
All right. Swimsuit. Pink or blue? Pink or blue?
I don't know. Maybe
I think
blue.
I
Unless
really
you like the
don't.
pink, you can do pink.
Yeah, his cast was pink when he was younger, so
Oh, okay.
And
so
formal,
that'll
we
make
can-
sense then.
patterns or no pattern. I kind of like the pattern one just because it has a black tint to it and the pants are black.
Yeah.
The one that doesn't has like a purple tint to it, and I think that doesn't look bad. It just looks weird to be together.
Yeah.
And then
that
I think
makes
I'll
sense.
put glasses back on, maybe.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah, because that's gonna send us back here. So done. So I think it's set to like what the game has set his personality to so far.
Oh, okay.
Which I almost don't really want to change that because like clothing doesn't really matter.
Right.
But I feel like this kind of does. So I kind of want to maybe leave what
Yeah.
the story has set for him.
I think I'd be good with that too.
Oh boy. Since you're romantically interested in Cove and are old enough to start being physically affectionate more seriously, you can choose what initiative level he has throughout step 3. Making sure the player experiences what they want is important in our life, but always putting your choice first can potentially make a relationship feel one-sided. So we've added some flexibility in how it works. Low initiative means that Cove will occasionally ask to touch the MC, and in those situations there will always be an opportunity to say yes or no. For example, he won't simply lean over and kiss the MC as a greeting or in an emotional moment. Every piece of physical interaction will be either initiated or approved by the player before it happens. Middle initiative means that there will be certain times when Cove requests to touch the MC, many chances to initiate affection on your own, and also Cove will pretty regularly give affection automatically. One example would be giving the MC a kiss because he's happy or emotional or something else. In other situations, you could choose not to make the first move in order to give Cove the space to be the one to act afterwards. Overall, Cove can get romantic, but the player's agency will take priority. High initiative includes everything middle does, but it also means that player agency will be reduced to a degree in favor of having Cove give physical affection even more frequently and with less prompting. Instead of all the major affection giving situations being led by a choice menu for you to decide on, some will instead be replaced by Cove acting automatically. This level is only recommended if you're comfortable with physical affection and would prefer to simply see it happen rather than always holding the reins on it. However, this level is mostly relevant if Cove ends up as your official boyfriend at some point. Situations where high-level initiative makes a difference tend to come up in scenes that are exclusive for being in a relationship. The parts that are also included in the middle initiative will be seen whether you're dating or not. Once you pick your level, it can be changed later on, so keep your full playthrough in mind when deciding. We hope you enjoy whichever initiative option you decide on. So, I guess that means, like, I guess I want to lean towards, like, the high one.
Okay.
Like, middle or high.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just want to do that just because...
Yeah, I was thinking middle or high is good.
Right? Because low would be, like, they ask you about everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to save here because this is definitely where the next part starts. So...
Yes.
All right. That definitely turned out way longer than I thought it was going to be.
But we did it.
There was a lot to that. I thought it was gonna be quick, but there was a lot to it. So, but we are now officially in the last step of the game.
Yep.
We getting there.
Almost there.
Almost there. So we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.